What's up, guys? It's Benny. We predicted FBI action today on the Somali fraud in Minnesota, and now we've gotten it. Now, just a preview, an appetizer to all of this. The FBI has already been working with the DOJ in order to indict 78 different Somalis in Minneapolis, Minnesota, for stealing taxpayer dollars, billions of them, and they said they're just scratching the surface. $19 billion potentially stolen, and this may well be more than the GDP of all of Somalia. It also potentially went back to fund terrorism in Somalia. Just a reminder that we have homeless veterans on food stamps on our streets here in this country who fought terrorism, and we are using our tax dollars not to help them, but to fund actual literal terrorism in Somalia. So the DOJ potentially getting very, very serious about this, and Kash Patel sounding off on this just seconds ago. Again, we predicted that this was about to happen. Our conversations with the FBI, an FBI source this morning told us this is what was going to happen. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Case update: Minnesota fraud scheme. The FBI is aware of recent social media reports in Minnesota. However, even before the public conversation escalated online, the FBI had surged personnel and investigative resources into Minnesota to dismantle large-scale fraud schemes exploiting federal programs. Fraud that steals from taxpayers and robs vulnerable children will remain a top FBI priority in Minnesota and nationwide. To date, the FBI has dismantled $250 million fraud scheme that stole federal food aid meant for vulnerable children during COVID. That's what inspired the New York Times to actually write this stunning headline: How Fraud Swamped Minnesota's Social Services Under Tim Walz. Tim Walz, who should be getting a home raid sometime soon. That's what we hope. Vulnerable children during COVID. The investigation exposed sham vendor, shell company, large-scale money laundering tied to Feeding Our Future network. The case led to 78 different indictments, 57 different convictions. Defendants included, I can't even pronounce these names. Let's just say a bunch of Ahmeds, Muhammads, and Husseins. You can read them here. You can read them also on the DOJ website, each charged with roles ranging from wire fraud to money laundering to conspiracy. These criminals didn't just engage in historic fraud, but tried to subvert justice as well. Majuddin Muhammad Nur and others were charged for attempting to bribe a juror with $120,000 in cash. Those responsible pleaded guilty, were sentenced, including a 10-year prison term and nearly $48 million in restitution-related cases. So why don't we deport them? Like, that's a great question here. So why Somali? Like, why the Somali immigration to our nation in the first place? Now, somebody explain that. Like, their country is a collapsed, failed state built entirely on graft, corruption, fraud, wholesale. The culture in Somalia is, of course, incompatible, non-compatible with Western civilization. Any liberal, any feminist should agree with me on that. Child brides, inbreeding, rampant, Sharia law, abuse of women, abuse of children, sectarian violence, civil war, tribal wars. It's an awful place to live, arguably the worst place on earth to live. And why would you want those cultures and those traditions here in this country? Those are not traditions that we support. Those are not traditions that we believe in. Of course, they're illegal here, actually, as is this level of fraud. Anyway, Kash Patel sounding off here, talking about how the FBI believes that this is the tip of a very large iceberg. We will continue to follow the money and protect children. The investigation is very much remains ongoing. Furthermore, many are also being referred to immigration officials for possible further denaturalization and deportation proceedings where eligible. Now, this is absolutely critical. This is something that we covered before the short Christmas break here, that the Trump administration intends on ramping up denaturalization proceedings against Americans, right? And I don't, of course, buy this contention that just because you come here and you get a piece of paper, you become an American. That's no, no. You can show me any piece of paper you want. Immigration without assimilation is an invasion. And so, no, your little piece of paper doesn't make you an American. And there's also severe laws on the books about denaturalization. They've denaturalized people all throughout American history. Listen, if you're a foreigner and you're caught panhandling in Saudi Arabia, you get immediately deported, right? If you're a foreigner and you get caught breaking the law in Saudi Arabia, you get jail for life. Then, or if you're able to get out of that jail, you go immediate deportation. So this is the kind of stuff like is treated extremely severely by other nations, yet we somehow allow it. We're not a real country if we allow it. Stephen Miller has been sounding off on this and going harshly against it. Imagine seeing colossal Somali welfare fraud in Minnesota and not realizing the Democrats have been committing election fraud on an equally staggering scale. Do you know in Somalia, I said Somalia, I meant Minnesota, but at some point, what's the difference? Little Mogadishu, little Minneapolis. At some point, you have to ask yourself, where's the limit? What point do people like who are getting our wages garnished, our treasure stolen, our kids, we can't afford to even have kids. We can't afford to have kids because we're funding the children of foreign people in our lands and in others. I mean, look at the amount of foreign aid that's spent every single year. Someone should write an alternative historical novel where Americans are the first to master the automobile, first in flight, first to harness the atom, first to land on the moon, but just keep going and never open our borders to the entire third world for 60 years. Yeah, that's exactly right, Stephen Miller. Sounding off. One more from Stephen Miller. I just watched Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra Family Christmas with my kids. Imagine watching that and thinking America needed infinity migrants from the third world. Stephen Miller has been going harshly against the third world migration, and he's been doing this for years. And it's Stephen Miller who says that we are going to ramp up denaturalization. I'm just showing you this because, well, it tracks with Kash Patel's note that they're going to look for denaturalization of quote unquote American citizens. There are a ton of reasons a ton of ways that you can denaturalize somebody. Running a mass criminal enterprise is one of them. If you have not assimilated into American culture, that is one of them. Anyway, we're glad that this worked, obviously, and that we're seeing some movement from the federal government. I know my entire timeline is this video, and yours probably too. The hundreds of millions of dollars of fraud that was found in one single day here by Nick Shirley, now been seen by 82 million people. One of the top tweets of all time, and inspiring people like Elon Musk, who ran Doge, to say we need to prosecute the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. It's time to prosecute Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a crook. We are glad that the Trump administration is taking this extremely seriously. There needs to be action. The American people and the faith of the administration, it hangs in the balance. And so my advice, get going, kick indoors. Now is the time. People are going to lose so much faith in the system if there is not mass deportations and mass criminal convictions over this. So now is the time to restore that faith. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.